My name is Chris Wall. I'm the business specialist for Brazil at UKTI. Brazil has long been known as an emerging market, but it's much more important than that these days for UK companies. I think Goldman Sachs were right to denominate it as one of the so-called BRIC economies, Brazil, Russia, India and China, some 4 or 5 years ago. The reason that Goldman Sachs chose Brazil as one of the BRIC nations is that together with the rest of them, the Brazilian economy is set to overtake the UK economy and become one of the largest economies in the world by, it was first of all by 2050, but now Goldman Sachs have revised that and it's now said to be around about 2035, 2038 that the Brazilian economy will finally be one of the largest economies, one of the most dynamic economies in the world. The reason that our companies need to be engaged with the Brazilian market is that it's modern, it's dynamic, it's going places, and it's the sectors which are growing are just those sectors which the UK is still very good at and has world-class supplies of goods, services and technology. There are tremendous opportunities in Brazil for the UK, for UK companies, and it's still one of those parts of the world that we don't naturally look to. Companies will often consider themselves global, and they'll give a mental picture of the world which simply doesn't include Brazil. One of the most exciting things about Brazil these days is what's known in Brazil as the PAC plan, the Accelerated Growth Programme, which the Lula government, which is now in its second administration, launched 3 years ago in February. It's the mother and father of all investment programmes, addressing what has long been the Achilles heel in Brazilian economic development, which is infrastructure. Infrastructure has had lamentable levels of investment, whether it's logistics infrastructure, the ports, the railways, the airports, the roads, or whether it's power logistics, energy generation, distribution and transmission. All of this has suffered greatly through lack of investment for decades. And the Accelerated Growth Programme, this PAC programme, has set in place and established budgets. Which the plan is costed, budgeted, and addresses this Achilles heel in the 3 main areas of logistics infrastructure, power infrastructure, and what they call the social and urban side, which is the social housing, but also includes the metro and light gauge railway. So these investments which are now being put in place will address all of those issues and take Brazil forward if it is to become a BRIC nation and one of the largest economies in the world by 2038. It's the PAC plan that has to succeed. British companies will succeed in Brazil if they bear 2 things in mind. The first one is that the Brazilian economy and the opportunities there are familiar, achievable, knowable, and not such a foreign thing to us. The culture is not that different to what our companies are already used to dealing with. But the second thing is to remember that Brazil is already a sophisticated market. It's not an easy market, and we're not going to get into Brazil and do well by selling glass beads and mirrors to the natives. But what Brazil is looking for in logistics infrastructure and energy infrastructure is the kind of world-class goods and services that Britain is good at, namely in the oil and gas sector, the advanced engineering, where Petrobras, the large large Brazilian oil and gas utility, is coming to the UK and looking for companies that are successful in the North Sea at deep sea exploration and can help Petrobras to extract, distribute and commercialise these huge oil finds, 14 billion barrels of oil of proven reserves already found. So companies in the oil and gas sector in the UK which have experience in the North Sea will find ready markets and willing partners in Brazil. Another area of opportunity for the UK companies, for similar reasons, is in sports infrastructure. Brazil, you will know, will host the FIFA World Cup in 2014, has now been awarded the Olympic Games in 2016 in the city of Rio. 12 host cities for the FIFA World Cup. FIFA have said that not one of them is ready yet to host the World Cup. There's a lot of opportunities for the UK companies which have experience of London 2012, Manchester Commonwealth Games and other global sporting events. The Brazilian companies, who will tend to be the main contractors, and the position for the UK is in the supply chain, the first challenge for UK companies to understand that they're not going to go to Brazil and become the main contractor in one of the flagship projects, but to find where they fit in the supply chain, and UKTI can help them to identify the main contractors who will almost certainly be household names already in the sector that you're operating in, whether it's construction, oil and gas, advanced engineering. The likes of Siemens are there, the Germans are there, with all sorts of companies that are familiar names to us, and that UK companies may already be supplying in other markets. So your company might already be accredited to the likes of Siemens and others, and to find out where you fit in the supply chain and make your way to Brazil. UKTI can help by the commercial officers that we have on the ground, the good contacts that we built up and that we maintain, keep up to date with these big players. And I would encourage companies to register on the UKTI website, make themselves known to their local international trade advisor, and start to map out this supply chain in Brazil. The two sectors that I mentioned, which are sports infrastructure and advanced engineering, representatives of both of those sectors in Brazil have approached UKTI and asked for support in finding partners in the UK that can help their Brazilian companies achieve these big business opportunities.